Imagine wandering the endless, whispering pines of New Jersey's Pine Barrens, where the sandy trails seem to hide secrets older than the trees themselves. Deep in Burlington County, near where Route 70 cuts through the wilderness, lies the enigma of Ong's Hat, a tiny hamlet that flickered into existence in the 1800s, only to vanish, leaving behind a peculiar name and a trail of questions. In the heart of the Pine Barrens, a sprawling 1.1 million acre wilderness, this lost settlement feels like a forgotten dream, its story woven from the ambitions and struggles of early settlers, flavored with a dash of eccentric folklore. Ong's Hat isn't just a place. It's a mystery that tugs at the curious, blending the grit of New Jersey's past with a quirky charm that lingers like mist over the bogs. Let's step into the shadows of the pinelands and unravel the tale of this vanished hamlet, where history and oddity meet in the quiet of the forest. The Pine Barrens have always been a land apart, a place where cedar swamps and sandy ridges sheltered small communities, scratching out a living from logging, bog iron, and glassmaking. In the 1800s, places like Ong's Hat were dots of civilization in a vast, untamed region, their rise and fall tied to the whims of industry and nature. This story takes us back to that era, to a time when a handful of cabins and a tavern stood where now only pines remain, and to later whispers of strange doings that keep the name alive. The tale of Ong's Hat. The story of Ong's Hat begins in the early 1800s, when the Pine Barrens were buzzing with small settlements fueled by the region's resources. Around 1830, a cluster of cabins sprang up near Cranberry Creek, a place folks started calling Ong's Hat after a local character named Jacob Ong. The tale goes that Jacob, a tanner with a wild streak, got into a drunken spat at a local dance, tossing his prized hat into an oak tree in a fit of passion. Some say over a woman who spurned him, others say just for the heck of it. That hat, stuck in the branches, gave the hamlet its name, a quirky badge for a community of farmers, loggers, and craftsmen. By the 1830s, Ong's Hat boasted a tavern, a hat-making shop, and a few homes, a small but lively outpost in the wilderness. Life in the Pine Barrens was tough, though, and by the 1850s, Ong's Hat began to fade. The soil was too sandy for sustained farming, and as railroads shifted industry to bigger towns, the hamlet's residents drifted away. By 1870, it was gone, the forest swallowing cabins and tavern alike, leaving no trace but a few crumbling bricks. Some say a fire swept through, sparked by a dry summer, reducing the settlement to ash. Others point to hard times. Lumber prices crashed in the 1870s, leaving small outposts like Ong's Hat struggling to survive. There's even a darker whisper, told around campfires, that the settlers fled after a smallpox outbreak, fearing the land itself was tainted. Fast forward to the 1980s, and Ong's Hat took on a new layer of mystery. A group calling themselves the Moorish Science Ashram, led by a shadowy figure named Wali Fard, supposedly set up in an old barn near the site. Word spread through early internet forums that they were dabbling in wild experiments, something about opening doorways to other dimensions. Then, just as suddenly, they vanished, leaving behind odd equipment and rumors that they'd slipped into another world. Most folks now think this was a tall tale, cooked up by a prankster named Joseph Matheny, who spun a sci-fi yarn called the Incunabula Papers to toy with conspiracy buffs. Still, the story stuck, adding a bizarre twist to Ong's Hat's legacy. The truth behind the hamlet's fall is murkier than the tales. Records from Burlington County in 1828 mention a plot called Ong's Hat, with a tavern and a handful of families, but by 1870, maps show nothing. The Pine Barrens economy was crumbling then, logging slowed, and railroads bypassed places like this for bigger hubs like Camden. A fire or disease could have hastened the end, but no single document pins it down. The cult story, while juicy, seems to be pure fiction, born from the 1980s fascination with fringe ideas. Yet, the mix of a lost settlement and a quirky name keeps Ong's Hat alive in local memory, a puzzle with pieces scattered across time. The place and its echoes. Today, Ong's Hat is just a sandy clearing in the Brendan T. Byrne State Forest, near Route 70 and Magnolia Road, where pines and cedars stand sentinel. If you hike the Batona Trail, you might stumble across the spot, though there's little to see. No signs, no ruins, just a quiet stretch of forest that feels like it's holding its breath. In 2008, a hiker named Tom Jenkins wandered the area and found a pile of weathered bricks by Cranberry Creek, maybe the tavern's foundation. He said the air felt heavy, like the place remembered its people. A few years later, in 2015, a local historian named Jake Ellis poked around and spotted a rusted horseshoe and some foundation stones under an oak. His compass acted up, spinning oddly, which he chalked up to the sandy soil's quirks. Others have found traces too. Mary Barlow, a forester who spent years in the Barrens, came across charred wood and iron nails near the creek in the early 2000s. She described the spot as eerily still, like the forest was guarding something. Back in 1880, a surveyor named Eli Hammond noted in his log a collapsed well and scattered bricks at Ong's Hat, hinting at how quickly the place vanished. More recently, a hiker in the 1990s claimed to find a glass bottle etched with Ong's in a clearing, a relic that felt like a whisper from the past. The pine barrens, sandy ground, and thick underbrush swallow things fast, which is why so little remains. The forest's vastness, with its bogs and hidden streams, makes it a place where history feels just out of reach. The 1980s cult rumors brought a new wave of explorers, drawn by tales of abandoned trailers and strange machines. Most found nothing but pines, though the story keeps curiosity alive. The Pine Barrens' isolation, coupled with its history of small, fleeting towns, makes Ong's Hat a perfect canvas for such tales. The economic crash of 1873 hit the region hard, draining life from logging camps, and Ong's Hat likely felt that sting. Whether fire, poverty, or disease cleared it out, the hamlet's absence is a stark reminder of how fragile these outposts were. The legacy of a lost place. What makes Ong's Hat stick in our minds? It's the kind of story that thrives in a place like the Pine Barrens, where isolation breeds imagination. The region's history is full of boom-and-bust towns, logging, iron, glass, all tied to industries that rose and fell with the market. Ong's Hat was one of many, a speck that shone briefly before fading. The quirky name, born from a tossed hat, gives it a charm that sets it apart from other lost hamlets. It's a story of ordinary people, farmers, tanners, tavern keepers, trying to carve out a life in a tough land, only to be overtaken by bigger forces. The later cult tale, though probably a hoax, adds a layer of modern intrigue, reflecting how the Barrens have always been a place for oddballs and dreamers. In the 1800s, it was settlers chasing a living. In the 1980s, it was folks spinning wild theories about other worlds. The Pine Barrens' sandy trails and cedar swamps seem to invite these stories, their silence a blank slate for our questions. The 1870s saw towns like Ong's Hat fade as railroads connected bigger cities, leaving rural outposts behind. The idea of a cult tinkering with reality fits the 1980s vibe, when fringe ideas found a home on early internet forums. Both eras show how Ong's Hat became a symbol of what's lost and what we imagine in its place. The story also touches on deeper themes. The Pine Barrens were home to tight-knit communities, self-reliant but vulnerable to economic swings. Ong's Hat's fall mirrors that fragility, a reminder of how quickly a place can vanish when the world moves on. The cult rumors, while fictional, tap into our fascination with the unknown, much like the settlers' hopes for a better life. It's no wonder Ong's Hat lingers in local lore, its name popping up in campfire tales and hiking guides, a nod to a past that feels just out of reach. Ong's Hat is a vanished piece of New Jersey's soul, a hamlet lost to time, but alive in the stories we tell. Whether it was a fire, hard times, a touch of disease, or just the slow creep of the forest, its disappearance left a mark on the Pine Barrens, a quirky name that sparks curiosity. The idea of a cult slipping into another dimension is a wild twist, but it's the human story, settlers building a life, only to lose it, that hits hardest. Wander the Batona Trail or read up in Weird NJ to feel the pull of Ong's Hat. but mind the private land and sandy paths. Have you found a trace of this lost place or wondered about its strange name? Share your thoughts in the comments, like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more Northeast tales. Stay curious and tread lightly in the pinelands. The forest keeps its secrets. Thanks for watching.